HSE Mindset MM channel's live sessions of today's topics. What we are going to discuss, HSE practitioner or safety officer. The attitude is very important for a safety officer or HSE practitioners. Actually, when you have a safety officer line, when you are a safety officer, you must follow a dignified manner, and you are not a just safety officer. You are a leader. You have to take very sensitive decisions. That decisions are very critical, important. You are like a safety leader and also like an army person to handle the things there in your site, in your workplace, or wherever it may be. You have to be very strict on your duty, and every attitude of you, when your attitude counts, you have to be very focused on your career. The personality development and attitude is very important for a safety officer or HSE practitioners. It's not just a department or a job. More than that, because the safety attitude is always speaks, because the all other jobs are clerical. So safety officers attitude speaks here. So when you have a proper attitude, then only you can have a proper way of safety approaches. So the safety is always speaks. When you have a proper safety attitude, then only you can get a safety career, good career of safety. You can sustain your job wherever you go. So the bad attitude speaks everywhere. The other jobs, the clerical jobs and other jobs and all, you can easily manage it. But the safety officer is not that much easy job. You have to handle the people. You have to handle the administration. You have to handle the government sources. You have to handle the auditors. You have to handle the top management, because the safety attitude speaks everywhere. When you have a proper safety attitude in the site or in construction or anywhere, so you can easily mold your career, because your career depends upon this kind of attitudes. When your attitude bad, it reflects in your job. So when your attitude is bad in front of your workers, in front of your top management, in front of legal authorities, then it will definitely spoil the name and the entire career. That's why the bad attitude of a or safety officer speaks here. So he is a role model. He is an influencer. He is a safety leader than anyone else. That's why we are talking more about bad attitude. So here you see common bad attitudes in HSE. What are the common bad attitude in HSE? Number one, blaming, blame oriented. So blaming must be avoided. When you have a blaming, then bad attitude. If any incident, accident happened, you should not be in a position to blame the others, because this kind of attitude tell the people you are always blaming the others, you are blaming. So it will be the individual, problems. So that's why avoid blaming. So number one is blame oriented. Then number two, ego driven powerhouses. So when you have a ego, being a safety officer or HSE practitioner, when you have a ego, it will spoil your career. It will stop your learning. So when you stop the learning, then definitely the safety career gets declined. You want to enhance safety officer, it is must to avoid ego in safety officer or HSE practitioner job, especially in the site, construction site, oil and gas, anywhere. But you should not be ego driven powerhouse. But when you have an ego, it stops your learning. So when you are learning, then only you can improve as a safety officer. When you have to improve in and observe the things, it is better to discard ego. So that is also one of the bad attitude. Inconsistent enforcement. Inconsistency is the when you have a following the safety rules and regulations, you must be consistent. When you are not consistent, then nobody. Sometimes people come to the site, then only they follow rules. When you are sitting in the office, they forgot everything. Sometimes you ask someone to wear the helmet or safety boot or gloves, but sometimes you are not enforcing that one. Okay, if the top management, no problem, you come without helmet, without safety boot, no problem, because he is a VIP or he is a top management. So in that case, inconsistency of enforcement of rules and regulations. So this rules and regulation, you must be consistent. The consistency of rules and regulation is a good attitude, but the bad attitude is inconsistency in enforcement of rules and regulation. Rules for rules, everyone same in front of the safety department. You cannot give excuses for the people. You have to be fair enough to see all the people are equal, whether top management, VIPs or any outsiders. The safety rules and regulations for everyone, so there is no excuses. So consistency is required. Inconsistent enforcement is a bad attitude for a safety professional. So that is the third one. Then paper safety mindset. So the paper safety mindset is always will not find out the real risk. You always paper safety, so always don't think about paper safety. Think about reactive safety. When you have papers only, you are sitting in the office doing some desktop work, doing some inspection checklist, doing some the auditor checklist. That's all means then it leads to big issue, because the safety survives only in the paper, not in the system, not in the working areas, not in the site. So it is better to avoid paper safety mindset. Always think about paper, not in the site, not in actuals. So that will make you big danger, makes more incidents. Then poor communication. So this poor communication is always a problem when you are not properly communicating the people. Sometimes you don't know the language of the people, but even though you don't know the language, you have to communicate with the persons with know the language. So that is the one of the best attitude. Your attitude must be, proper way of communication. So when you have communicating properly, then only you can achieve in safety. When you are not properly communicating all the peoples in site, in industry, everywhere, then what will happen? The message will not go to the site, to all people. So it's better to have a proper way of communications, and you have to communicate all the people. The communication is one of the major tool for safety officers. When the safety officers properly communicating in all type of languages, if you don't know the language, concern with the people to know the language. So with them you communicate and ask them to communicate the people. Make sure your communication reaches all levels. So the poor communication means just writing in one language, sending into the board and keeping in the stickers, that's all. This is a poor communication. So you have whatever message, safety informations, messages are there, you have to communicate all the levels of the people. So that is important, because in the sites, sometimes you are giving one line people only. Second line, third line people not know what you are telling, what kind of safety information it is. Then the second line, third line people always don't know about the problems what you are telling. So you are communicating only first line people means then accidents, incidents for second and third line people easily they will met accidents. So because of these accidents, your name only getting spoiled. So that's why you have to avoid poor communications. Then closer to learning. So you should be then closer to learning. You have to, being a safety officer, you have to learn. When you are closing a learning is a bad attitude, because some safety people, they thought I know everything, so I don't want to learn anything. So people's every day, lot of things happening in the site, you have to learn. So the safety officer or HSE practitioner's main job, learn. When you are keeping on learning, then only you can improve your safety standards. You can improve your careers. It's a career enhancements. So when you want to improve your career, you have to learn. There is no way. When you are learning only, your career gets enhanced. So these are the bad attitudes. So you should not be blame oriented, you should not be ego driven, and then inconsistency. You should not be inconsistency for following the rules and regulations. Then your safety should not be paper oriented. Then there should not be any poor communications, and closer to learning is a bad attitude. So make sure you are properly learning every day. So these are the bad attitudes of the HSE practitioner. Sorry. Okay, so first safety officer, you must know what will be the bad attitudes. Number one, blame. You should not blame anyone. Sometimes blaming is there, but you should not blame it from your end. You have to see what is the failure. Human, you should not find out the failures of human. You have to find out the system failures, not human failures. So whether what kind of issue happened in the system, so that you have to find out. So that's why your attitude must be bad. These are the bad attitudes: blaming, blame oriented, ego driven, then inconsistence on following the safety rules and regulations, enforcement. So when you see, when a manager is coming, you are not telling the wearing safety helmet or safety boot or any required mandatory PPEs, but you are imposing the workers or laborers, helpers. So it is the inconsistency of following the safety rules and regulation and enforcement. So you must be fair for following the safety rules and regulations and enforcement. So you have to ask from top to down, everyone follow the safety rules and regulations. That's why if you are inconsistent, that is the bad attitude of a safety officer. Then paper oriented, paper safety mindset. So some people think, okay, something I have inspected, I have written a paper. I audited, I have written a paper. I just send a mail, that's it, enough. I made a record, that's it. But it's not that way. You have to be real, real purpose is to communication and also to take actions. So should not be paper safety. And also the poor communication, also a bad attitude. So you have to communicate top to down in all levels, all kind of languages. You have to make sure, make sure they all understand what you are telling, and you have got the proper feedback from them. So that is the proper communication. But the poor communication means you just given a notice, that's all, means it's a poor communication, it's a bad attitude of a safety officer. Then closer to learning, you are only sitting in the room and not going each and every department, not observing anything. Then in that case, it's a close learning. You are not learning because you thought, I did so many degrees, I did so many certifications, I don't want to see. So every day, every minute, something will happen. Every hour, something will happen. So you have to learn. That will only improve your career, and also observe the thing. The hazards and risk will happen every minute. So that's why you have to learn. But if you are not learning, closer to learning means it's a bad attitude. So we have seen the bad attitudes. So how these bad attitudes impact of safety culture. These bad attitudes, how it impacts on safety culture. So see, blaming means under-reporting. When you are keeping on blaming others means you are not learning, it's under-reporting. Then you have arrogance. So lack of what we can say, lack of implementation, and what we can say, lack of trust. We can say lack of trust. Arrogance always lack of, or you can say loss of trust. When you always arrogance, people will not trust you. So number one, blaming means under-reporting. Then arrogance means you are loss of trust. Then you have a character of paper. paper safety, and means you are not you are not properly focusing on safety. Then poor communication means you are not communicating properly, means the people not getting what you are telling. So that is also coming under the safety culture. Then what we closer to learning means the accident will come, more accident will come when you are not learning. Then inconsistency means you have to be lot of normalization of deviance, because when you have inconsistency on posing means the deviance is always there for your work. Deviance means something deviated from the system. So something deviated from the system means in crane operations, forklift operations, any operations, any deviation is there, then you are not able to find out the deviations. That's why inconsistency enforcement always tells about the normalization of deviance. Then poor communication means, as I said, the more accident will come, then you are not able to listen. So, okay, what are the good characters of safety officers? So, what good attitude safety officers must have? We have seen what are the bad attitudes of safety officer. Then we will see what are the safety officers' good attitude. That good attitude only improve the careers. So, number one, listen before judging. Number one, listen before judging. So, suddenly when you go to the site, you cannot judge immediately. First, you have to listen the people, what they are telling. If the crane operations are there, something happened at there. Then when you are going and telling that immediately some words, then it will be the poor, bad attitude. But the good attitude is listen what they are telling. So, number one, listen before judging. Focus on system. So, not human failure. So, always focus on system failures, not human failures. When any accident happen, incident happen, you should always focus on system failure only, not human failure. So that's why it's not a blaming culture. It should be a proper way of safety culture. Means you have to find out where the system went wrong. That is the important. So the good safety officer attitude, you have to find out in case of accident incidents, what will be the safety officer's role is. You have to find out the system failure, not human failure. Then leads by example. You have to lead by example for others for safety, reporting, wearing the PPEs, the helmet, coveralls, and then following the safety rules and regulations in the industry. You must be lead by example for others. People see you, say that, okay, my safety officer wearing all the safety gear, he is following the rules and regulations of the company properly. Then I have also needs to follow. So you have to be lead by example. Then so reporting. So when you are reporting means you have to emergency reporting or everything when you are reporting, you have to follow in a proper standard manner of reporting things. Then treat people with respect. Always treat with the people with respect. That is important. Whether labor, worker or helper, it's not a matter. Always treat with the people with respect. And then use incidents. So use incidents is a learning, not punishment. When any incident happening, it is the tool for learning, not punishing the others. When you are keeping the punishment for others, penalty, it's not a good attitude. So the safety officer's attitude, that when accident or incident happening, you have to be very fair enough, and you have to learn. Learning the opportunity is important, not blaming or punishing the others. So this is the good safety officer character's attitude. So before we have seen bad attitude, now what we have seen, what good safety officer will do. So good safety officers listen before judging, and then focus on system failure, not human failure, and then leads by example. Then always encourages reporting. Always encourages the reporting. So encouraging the people to report any accidents, incidents, near misses, anything happened, they come and report you. So always encourages the reporting. Then treat the people with respect. That is one of the safety officers' vital thing. Then use accidents is learning, not blaming or punishing the people. So these are the things you have to make sure. Being a safety officer or HSE practitioners, you must avoid this bad attitude, and you have to encourage or you have to develop the safety good attitudes. The good attitudes, what I have said, the last one, is good for your career enhancement, your career development, your improvement. So whether what type of industry, it's not a matter. Whether it's oil and gas, or whether in manufacturing or any kind of industry, you must avoid this bad attitude. You have to improve this good attitude. So when you are keeping on improving this good attitude, you will be a successful safety officer, a successful HSE practitioner. So that will everyone expects. Because the bad attitude spoils your entire career. When keeping on doing the bad attitude, your career gets declined. When you are improving your safety career, then you can easily follow these safety rules and regulations. Or when you want to improve the safety culture, you can follow this one. Impact of so this bad attitude will impact on safety culture. This safety culture impact your employment. That will be your employers. Employers will focus on your role when the impact of safety culture is there. Definitely your employer gets frustrated about you. So that's why avoid these bad attitudes, and you develop your good attitudes, like as I said, listen before judging, and then focus on system failure, not human failure. Leads by example for safety or anything, and then encourage reporting for all the peoples, encouraging near misses, encouraging reporting, not near misses, encouraging near misses reporting, accident reporting, incident reporting. Then treat people with always respect in all level. Then use incidents as a learning, not blaming or punishment. These are the good safety officers' attitudes. Before we have seen bad attitudes, The last one we have seen good safety officers' attitudes. Always develop good safety officers' attitude. That will be the proper way of the safety officers' work. That will only improve your entire career. You will be one day a safety leader. So you have to always think that you are a role model for others, you are an influencer for the industry, and then you are a safety leader for the industry. So that will be your goal. So that kind of attitude you must have. So be focused on good attitudes of safety. Just forgot about the bad attitude of a safety officer, but you must learn it. What are the bad attitude of safety officer? That you have to avoid it. Develop good safety officer's attitude. So I hope you enjoy these training sessions or learning sessions. You learned from this video means it's great. So you have any questions, just comment me. Definitely I'll try to answer for that. Then still you didn't subscribe this channel, subscribe the channel, like it and share it. Share with your friends. There are a lot of videos and informations are there in this HSEMINDSETmm channel. You go through it and refresh it, your knowledge, and get more opportunities and you get a good career as a safety professional. I hope you understand everything. So we will see some other live session. Thank you very much for joining.